Hi, welcome to the Paso del Norte Community Foundation's Facebook page. We're here today for a live Q&A with Tracy Yellen, CEO of the Paso del Norte Community Foundation. She's joined by Maggie Hani, owner of Salt and Honey and the founder of the El Paso Food and Beverage Fund, and Chuck Horak, who is the founder of the EP COVID-19 Medical Equipment Supply. I'll be moderating the discussion. My name is Dave Acosta. We encourage you to submit your questions, and as always, log on to epcovid19.org. That's where you'll find tons of useful information and great resources for the community related to the COVID-19 crisis. You'll find tabs there to help various community members answer questions and also get help. There's tabs such as I'm a parent, I'm a student, I own my own business, I want to help, and much, much more. And many of those resources are free. So first, we're going to start off talking to Tracy Yellen about the Community Foundation, what the Community Foundation has been working on in terms of response to the community's needs during this public health crisis. So Tracy, if you can tell us a little bit about the COVID-19 Response Fund.
Sure, thank you, Dave, and thanks so much for putting this together. It's so great to connect with our community, and we've been so grateful for the outpouring of support for all of the different funds that have been set up under the Community Foundation's umbrella. The first one was the COVID-19 Response Fund. And we set that up immediately because we recognize that we're going to be a lot of nonprofit organizations who would be required to continue their work on the front lines. So El Pasoans Fighting Hunger, all of the homeless shelters. You know, if you've not been considered an essential worker, many of us are working from home. We have so many people who either don't have a home or are, have to serve those most in need at these times. And so we wanted to create a fund where people could help nonprofits really who are on the front lines of COVID-19.
Okay. And also in addition to that, of course, as I mentioned, there is the website epcovid19.org, where there's other additional resources that are available throughout the community.
Yeah, it's really important. I know how isolated people are feeling, and there's so much different information that's being shared. A lot of really important resources that are out there. So I'm the CEO of the Paso del Norte Community Foundation, but also the Paso del Norte Health Foundation. And we thought it was really important to make sure that people had access to all these resources in one simple location. So that was the genesis of epcovid19.org. Where people can go to find all kinds of information. We've set up a sister site for whatiscovid19.com, and so that there are lots of resources that are also available to individuals and families and businesses in Juarez. First and foremost, we want to make sure that everybody's healthy and safe, but needs have emerged, and it's been really clear that our community, there are many things that so many people in our community need. So the Response Fund was the first created to help, again, serve and support the nonprofits and the constituents that they work with on the front lines. So that's the food insecure, the homeless, and the elderly, particularly those who are homebound.
Okay, and are there already some organizations that have taken advantage of that fund and started to receive grants through the Response Fund?
Yes, so we partnered with the United Way of El Paso to manage the distributions for the fund. They've also really worked hard with so many of the partner nonprofit organizations. So we have made grants already from the funds to El Pasoans Fighting Hunger to help with the food needs and the very long food lines. And they are doing such an extraordinary job responding to our community. So we really are grateful for everyone's generosity for them. We've also made grants to Project Bravo, who is providing utility assistance for families, the Senior Fund that's providing resources to homebound seniors. And then actually we've bought over $25,000 worth of cleaning supplies for all of the homeless shelters. They've been distributed to 17 homeless shelters around the community. They needed access to basic sanitation supplies and resources to make sure that their staff are safe, their volunteers are safe, and their residents and constituents are safe. And that's really one of the most important things. We've made a small grant, the Health Foundation has, to the rescue mission, and they are making homemade masks to provide to the homeless shelters for their residents and their volunteers and their employees.
That's all such important work that's going on right now in the community while we deal with this COVID-19 healthcare crisis. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the any corporate matches or any other businesses that have
Yeah.
given some nice donations to that?
Sure. So we've received some really wonderful gifts so far. Wells Fargo made an initial $50,000 contribution to the response fund. We've received gifts from El Paso Electric, One Gas, Westar, AT&T, and so many individuals. So the really nice thing is that we're able to deploy the resources to the organizations that are working on the front lines, and we're getting the money out as soon as it comes in. So we're not holding on to these resources. We're not charging fees against the resources. 100% of the funds are being distributed to nonprofit organizations. We have set
That's
up an
great.
RFP, a request for proposals. So if there are nonprofits out there working on the front lines, we encourage them to submit applications. It's a simple application. And as we have additional resources that come in, we will work with the United Way on making those distributions.
Awesome. I was just about to ask how can people apply to get help from the response fund or help apply for a grant to try and set up some of these different resources. So now let's go ahead and kick over to Maggie Asfahani, who again is the owner of the local restaurant Salt and Honey. She went ahead and set up a fund under the community foundation, which is called the El Paso Food and Beverage Fund. She set that up not only to help her own employees out who are right now not able to work because of the different limitations that are being imposed because of this situation right now, but to help other food and beverage restaurant workers, etc., out there in the community who might need some help. Maggie, thank you for joining us today. Tell
Thank you
us a
for
little
having
bit
me.
about why it was so urgent for you to start this fund when you did, because you responded really quickly.
Well, because immediately we were just working in the restaurant industry, it was very, very clear as the crisis started, just we started seeing less customers. And my employees were really frightened because they knew that this was going to be coming in. Eventually, we would have to close. And serving and working in a restaurant is so dependent on the people that come in. And servers especially are working for tips, and that's their entire income. And so as we started to slow down, it became very apparent to me that they were going to be struggling for a way to make ends meet, especially even if they were going to file for unemployment and eventually did file for unemployment, the gap, especially now because so many people have filed for unemployment, the system is just very overwhelmed. And so they weren't going to be able to receive funds as quickly as maybe in previous times. And so I saw them as sort of a microcosm of what was going to be happening in the greater El Paso community. And especially for our local businesses, perhaps, bigger chains have different resources where they could be able to help their employees. But I was really focused on trying to help local businesses and people who are working, especially for local businesses, although the fund is for anything. I mean, even if you're working at a chain, obviously you can apply, but those folks who might not have any other resources to be able to make ends meet so suddenly because everything happened so suddenly.
Right. We just want to once again encourage everyone to log on to epcovid19.org for more resources and more information. We're also here with Chuck Horak. He is the founder of another fund, which is called the EP COVID-19 Medical Equipment Supply Fund. Chuck, can you tell us a little bit about that fund and why you decided to start it?
Sure. Well, I think we're all feeling a bit of anxiety being sheltering and isolating and seeing what's happening around our community, particularly given the scarcity of personal protective gear, PPE, as they say in the medical industry. But, that scarcity is across the country. And I began to notice that there are a lot of great grassroots initiatives bubbling up with sometimes just an individual with a 3D printer who was finding on the NIH site or other blogs around the country 3D printable materials that they could make face shields or face masks or even ventilator parts for hospitals. And a lot of this was bubbling up in our own community to address that scarcity of needs. And Fab Lab El Paso was also gearing up and prototyping some of these components. So I saw that there was going to be a need, and there already is a need, for all of these makers, who most of which are donating their time and resources and printers to make this material to protect our community. The raw materials, the consumables that go into that, are getting harder and harder to find, and it's more and more important that we get ahead of those orders, because it can often take a week or two to get them in. So I wanted to create a fund that would help reimburse a lot of the makers in our community that are stepping up to do small and even large scale printing of materials that are helping hospitals, but also everyone down the line. I think the hospitals have a pretty good bead locally on their supplies, but if you think about nursing homes and hospice care and home health care, even grocery stores, when you go to the grocery stores, there's firefighters who are reaching out to us as well. There's just a lot of limitations right now on supplies for commercially available masks and filtration and other protective gear that we're able to do at a grassroots level. And so this fund was really designed to financially support a lot of the donations up to this point in material that are going into making these products.
And that's great, because I think the fact that both of these funds were set up so early put us a little bit ahead of the curve, especially since we don't know when this is going to peak here in El Paso yet. From what we're seeing, we probably have not hit our peak yet. And so just to be out in front of it is hopefully down the line will be a great help from all three of these funds.
Exactly. I think a lot of the people involved also see the need to not only protect our medical workers, but there's a lot of other types of folks in our community who are still interfacing with the public daily. And the more we can protect them, we can lessen the transmission rates, and we can hopefully lessen the load on our hospitals a few weeks from now.
And Maggie, I know that you've had some good support from the community as well. You've partnered with LNF. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, LNF really stepped up. They were the first ones that stepped up to give a very generous donation. We also have Southern Glaciers, who also gave a very generous donation. We're almost up to, and then with community support as well, just, if anybody who's listening, $5, $10, it really goes towards helping somebody who's out of work be able to buy groceries or be able to get gas or get any essentials that they might need. And so we're almost up to $30,000, I believe, right now, and are distributing those funds.
How can people apply for those funds?
Let's see, we have, so far we have 182 applications, 167 have been approved, and we have 15 pending that just need a little bit of extra information. And so we really want to encourage people to apply. We've had very generous donations, and there's money there for folks to be able to access. So I really would encourage that. Also, I've set up on our own restaurant website, which is saltandhoneyep.com. We have a store right now where you can get some shirts, face coverings, and 100% of those proceeds for the time being until June 1st, it may be extended, are going to be going toward the fund. So we encourage you to take a look at that and try to get some cool merchandise and help support the fund as well.
And so can service workers, can they just go to Paso Norte Community Foundation's website to apply?
Yes, I believe so. Okay. Tracy, if you wanted to chime in on that.
Sure. So we really encourage both contributions, continued, like Maggie said, any donations of all sizes are welcome, but also applications. So it's really a simple application. You go to pdnfoundation.org. You can click on resources and select the El Paso Food and Beverage Workers Fund and submit the application online. We're accepting applications from workers who've lost their jobs in El Paso, Santa Teresa, and Sunland Park, New Mexico. I want to acknowledge and thank the Borderplex, Workforce Solutions Borderplex. We have partnered with them, so we take these resources and make a grant to the Workforce Solutions Borderplex, who is really in the business of supporting employees in our community, and they are distributing up to $100 MasterCards now for the approved applicants in this process. So this has been such a great team effort. I really want to acknowledge Maggie for putting her heart and soul into this. And it's so humbling. And when we're all back up and running, and even now, as you can order out, and we really encourage people to support our local restaurants and economy, because this is just the heart and soul of our community, and we want to be here for restaurants. We're often in the fundraising business, and all the restaurants in town, they are so generous, and they donate gift cards and prizes, and they're always here for us. And this is a really small way, I think, an important way for us to be here for workers. The same thing with Chuck. I really want to acknowledge what he's done. This is not his primary business, and this is a labor of love with the Fab Lab El Paso and so many local makers who are really good at technology and have this amazing 3D printing equipment. And they've been able to, just this incredible little army of volunteers that have taken what they, the resources that they have, to make this really important protective equipment available to the community. And Chuck is doing this solely as a volunteer, and we really can't thank him enough for his leadership and passion. I want to mention that there's 2 other funds that have been established by other passionate volunteers in our community. One is to buy and help purchase protective equipment for Juarez. So that is the Juarez Response Fund that's included in the list. And there's a young gentleman, Nicholas Spurbeck, who has set up the Fortify the Heroes Fund. And we're helping him collect donations to be able to feed healthcare workers working on the front lines, away from their families, at greater risk, in service to our community. So to Maggie, to Chuck, to Nicholas, to all of our partners and donors, to the Workforce Solutions Borderplex, thank you. To our nonprofits and our healthcare organizations, thank you. This is really, truly a community response, and this, we're really proud and honored to play a role, whatever role we can, in making it easier for our community.
Definitely. We do want to thank everyone in the community who has donated, and thank you to everyone who has set up a fund, and the Paso del Norte Community Foundation also for being the conduit for all this. We're up to our 15-minute time limit here. We've hopefully answered as many questions as we possibly can. If anyone wants to comment any more questions in the Facebook Live feed, it'll still be up saved on the Community Foundation's Facebook page, and we'll definitely get you some answers. If you have any more questions, we'll answer you in the comments there. Maggie and Charles, is there anything that you want to add before we go ahead and wrap it up?
I just want to thank Tracy and the Paso del Norte Community Foundation. I mean, without their umbrella, none of this could have been pulled together so quickly. So it's just tremendous to have them in our community.
And Maggie?
Well, he took the words right out of my mouth. So that's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you for, as soon as I had the idea, I reached out to Tracy. Thank you for helping us get this together so quickly, so that folks could receive what they need as quickly as possible.
Great. Once again, we thank everybody for tuning in here on Facebook. If you want further information, like we said before, tune in to log on to epcovid19.org. There's plenty of terrific information there. You can also go to the Paso del Norte Community Foundation's website for more information on these funds that are available and how to apply, how to donate. We certainly appreciate all your donations. And we thank you very much. We'll be back here next Tuesday to talk about some of those new funds that Tracy mentioned. So join us then, and look out on Facebook so you can ask your questions for next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.